We all know the legends of the Blue Beacon and Grimmick_H, two names whispered across countless universes, two figures whose influence stretches infinitely across the improv skit plane. Their stories collide, fracture, and reshape reality itself. This is their core saga, the M.A.C.U. But the question remains, do you truly know the story as well as you think you do? Let us return to the beginning. In the earliest days of the M.A.C., a challenge was issued, a race. Each contestant forged their own machine of incredible power, vehicles of speed, invention, and questionable engineering. The victor would claim the ultimate title, the all-speedy Gmod King. The engines roared, the race began with a thunderous boom, and the contestants launched forward. But from the very first moments, controversy struck. With a move as clever as it was illegal, the Blue Beacon soared over the finish line barrier itself, bypassing the course entirely and claiming victory before the race had truly begun. The other contestants, they continued along the path, lap after lap, until the final racer crossed the checkered line. The first fracture in the M.A.C. had already been written. In the days that followed, the group remained united. Their adventures continued as they documented the games they loved most notably hide and seek. What began as innocent fun slowly changed. Tensions rose, accusations were thrown, trust began to erode, and eventually, the game was no longer a game. Sides were chosen, alliances formed. What once was laughter turned to conflict as the M.A.C. collapsed into all-out war. Friendships shattered, members turned on one another, and the once unified collective was permanently divided. From the ashes remained two, Peyton and Brandon, the last surviving members of the M.A.C. mayor and vice mayor of GM_Big City. Together they carried forward the legacy of chaos. Their next chapter, another war. A conflict waged against a rival faction of internet micro-celebrities. Once again, the Garry's mod world descended into turmoil. The battles were fierce, the losses unforgettable. Eventually, peace returned. But peace has a cost. Peyton and Brandon mourned the loss of their adopted father, Cleaver. In honor of him, they built a makeshift casket from the most sacred materials they had available. They placed him upon it, set the flames, and watched the fire carry him away. Exactly how Cleaver would have wanted. For a time, the story went silent. The duo vanished from the spotlight. Their adventures continued beyond the camera's gaze as they processed the loss of the man who had raised them. When they finally returned, they had begun a new life in a quiet, undisclosed beachside town. One peaceful afternoon, the brothers set out for something simple. Food, just a quiet bro date at a waterfront cafe. Inside the restaurant, conversation flowed, stories were told. And then, at the height of the discussion, Peyton asked a question that would change everything. He looked at Brandon and said, "Who asked?" Brandon was stunned, but the phrase, the meaning, it struck something deep within him, and so Peyton made a decision. He would find the answer. He would discover who asked. The journey lasted an entire year. Peyton crossed distant lands. He traveled to the very edges of the earth itself. Halfway through the voyage, he became trapped inside an endless labyrinth of office hallways and empty pools. But somehow, he escaped, and eventually, he located the facility where the secret was said to be kept. The truth of who asked. But just as Peyton approached the answer, the facility exploded. The truth was lost forever. and the question remained unanswered. Defeated but alive, Peyton returned home. For months he searched for Brandon, homeless, wandering, living simply and holistically while gathering strength for the search. Then one day, he stopped at a small hole-in-the-wall restaurant, and by fate itself, the search ended. Behind the kitchen counter, cooking food, was his long-lost brother, Brandon. At last, the two were reunited. Together once more, they stood ready to reshape the tides of history itself. The world was their oyster. The seas could shift beneath their feet, and the future could be written in their names. But destiny had other plans. The police arrived. Peyton was arrested for his crimes, for daring to search for the forbidden truth of who asked, and simply for being there. Brandon was taken too. The two brothers were sentenced to serve time within the infamous Necro Penitentiary. And so the story pauses here. Two legends behind bars, a universe waiting, and an answer still lost somewhere beyond the edges of reality. But one thing is certain: prisons cannot hold destiny forever. And when the gates of Necro Penitentiary finally open, the next chapter of the M.A.C.U. will be far stranger, far louder, and far more legendary than anything the universe has seen before. The story is far from over.